I didn't get my PhD in 1970. You're aging me too much.
Oh, really? So when was that?
1972.
Oh, 72. So 2 years after.
Yes, I think it's important.
But 17 and 72, really? In the 70s, I should have said.
I mean, okay.
Early 70s.
Secondly, my alma mater, strictly speaking, is Brandeis University.
Okay.
We do have a Brandeis University Alumni Association here in Ghana.
Is it that active?
It's quite active. I don't want the Brandeis University people to think
you're giving it all to Boston.
Their time or the other. I'm forgetting them.
Wow.
Usually your alma mater is where you did your first degree.
Fantastic.
And I'm very proud to be a Brandeis alumni.
It's important that you state that because this is the show. And you have to set the record straight.
Thank you.
But Achimota School came in somewhere, right?
Yes, I went to Achimota School actually for 3 years.
Oh, so you didn't get to complete?
Unfortunately, no.
Why?
I got a scholarship in my 3rd year. I wasn't alone. There were a group of Achimota boys, about 7 of us, who got scholarships to go to prep schools or secondary schools in the United States. And so since 1961, I have basically lived in the United States, went to school there. I left the United States in 1972 to go, after my PhD, to go and work for the UN Institute for Development and Planning in Dakar, Senegal, where I taught at their Economic Institute. And I was there for 14 years.
You speak French? Un peu, un peu?
Bien sûr.
Bien sûr.
Oui. Je parle très bien d'ailleurs. Je suis pratiquement bilingue.
And that's why we live it.
No, it's a language that I really love.
It's exotic. I met a French ambassador on Monday and I told him that it's exotic. I mean, you know, the French language is something else.
Yes, it's very expressive. There are a lot of things that you can express much better in French.
Oh, really?
Than you can in English.
Like?
Oh, subtleties, right? I can't immediately think of something, right? But it's also something that I share with Nanado, right?
Is he your friend? Is President Akufo-Addo your friend?
I don't know whether he'll admit it or not, but he used to be my friend. We actually met in Dakar, Senegal. He doesn't really remember the context in which he met me. I remember very well because I was, you know, quite enchanted by him and his personality and everything else.
Wow.
He keeps blaming Albert Osei, who is my very close friend, as being the person who introduced us. But it wasn't Albert Osei, and I wouldn't tell him who.
Really? It's his birthday today. What do you want to say to President Akufo-Addo?
Happy birthday, President Akufo-Addo. And not only do I wish you long life, but I also wish you a very successful presidency. Because if you are successful, we are all the better for it as Ghanaians. He knows...
you believe in his leadership qualities?
Nanado, President Akufo-Addo has always been a social activist. From the early days, I mean, some of the discussions that we had, he may have forgotten it, had to do with Ghana, right? And what can be done, you know, to move democracy forward. He's always been very socially conscious and things like that. I have to be very honest. I don't share the same political orientation with him. I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, a liberal Democrat. My background, my experience doesn't permit me to be that. But on the other hand, I do have a lot of respect for him. And above all, I think he's a real human being.
Wow.
That's all we can ask.
That's all we can ask for, indeed. And we're still on, you know, at Achimota School. Which house were you in?
I was in Cadbury House.
Cadbury House?
Yes, that was the only house to be in.
Really?
And it was made a little easier.
Not, Jibeg or Gisbeg House or
Cadbury. Because Professor Mills was in Cadbury House. And basically it was one of the more spoiled houses because we are sponsored by Cadbury, the cocoa company. And the assistant headmaster lived there. It was the headmaster for Cadbury House.
So hence the name, because of Cadbury.
Oh, yes, because of Cadbury.
Wow,
yeah.
okay. Interesting. And how's life at Achimota School like? You still remember the anthem? I know it's something from Gambaga to Accra from
Yes, of course I do remember it, though I won't sing it.
No, you won't, but we want you to maybe,
No, Achimota, like all secondary schools, had a very profound impact on me. It was the first time that I left home. Some of my fondest memories and some of my best friends, without doubt, come from my days at Achimota. There are a number of them that, of course, I've lost contact with. I'm not nearly as active, right, in the Achimota School Association. But if I were to name my best friends in Ghana now, I think I would have to mention Achimota and the people from there.
Achimota is 90 and they do something great. Achimota speaks, and I wish that you'll be one of the speakers to address, certain concerns and issues in our dear nation. So maybe you need to reconnect if there are Accras listening to me, like Accra Martin Mensah and the likes that I know, Joel. And,
Well, if you can put in a word for me.
I know that they're listening.
More that happens.
Nakrodu Ajimon Rollins is an Accra as well. Did you get to meet her? She left, I think,
no,
66. So
yes, I think.
But you left earlier.
She was a little younger than we were.
Okay.
And I think she probably got there the year after I left. Of course, I didn't leave in fifth form. If I stayed till Form 5, I definitely would have met her.
What kind of student were you, Doc?
This is not modesty. I think, for the most part, I was quite average as a student. Even as an undergraduate, I was quite average. I am an avid sports person. I love to play football. At the university, I spent all my time playing football and getting away academically.
Because that's instructive. So what? Because of sports, you were able to get away with the academics, right?
Well, it helped in some way. Obviously, also, you had to perform academically in order to be able to continue with sports.
So at Achimota School, like they say, Motown, were you into sports as well?
Unfortunately, at that time, I was a little too small physically. So whenever they selected, the house football team, they said I should sit on the side because they were afraid that I would get hurt.
But did you, at the point, feel disappointed because you knew what you had?
Of course, I thought I was much better than most of the people.
Oh, really?
They were fielding, except that they were bigger than I was. But anyway, that's...
You had a girlfriend at Achimota School?
No. I very much wanted one.
Oh, you wanted one?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're a cute guy.
I mean, they didn't think I was cute then.
What were the ladies saying to you?
Oh, no. I don't really remember. But all
You don't have a crush on any lady, though?
I had crushes on a lot of them. But they never looked at me.
Did you find one in the States?
Maybe a little too many.
Oh, you're a playboy then?
No, I'm not a playboy. I think I'm somebody who gets involved in serious relationships.
Nectar attracting bees?
No, not really. Not really. I think I don't like to be lonely.
Oh, okay. But you like the company of women better than men?
Well, it depends. I mean, listen, for romantic reasons, I am very heterosexual. I prefer the company of women. For intellectual reasons, sometimes it's better to be talking to friends, male, who have the same point of view as you do.
So your first girlfriend was at the age what?
Oh, it was quite young.
Quite young?
Yeah.
Wow. 16?
Or earlier than that.
You must be kidding me, Dr. Cadman Mills.
No, I'm not. Listen.
In the States, you had your first girlfriend in the States?
Yes, I had my first wife when I was very young.
Your first wife?
Yeah.
Or girlfriend, then later on became...
I got married very, very young.
At what age?
21.
21 you were married?
Yeah, I mean, I could have been married even earlier.
What informed that? Because here at 21, you must, I mean, still be in university or trying to find your way out and thinking about life, a lot, rent issues, you know, work. But 21, you were married?
Yes, I was married. My father obviously wasn't enthused by the idea. He thought I should really finish my PhD before I got married. He made me promise that I wasn't going to have children until I was finished with my education. So I had my first child when I was 24. And basically, he's now, how old is he? My God, 46?
Your first child is 46?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's virtually, I mean, there are two of them from the same mother, and they're virtually my brothers.
Interesting. So you're still with your first wife, or you had to move on?
No. I mean, listen, it's no secret to anybody that I'm on my fourth wife.
Oh, fourth wife?
Oh, yeah.
Look.
There's a saying, if at first you don't succeed,
try again.
Try.
Are you the problem or they are the problem?
Well, if you ask me, they were the problem.
4 wives, how many kids?
That's also very delicate.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I have natural children.
Sure. You've adopted?
Oh, yeah.
So natural children, how many? Biological kids?
3.
3?
Yeah.
But altogether you have?
About 5.
5? Wow. You're a great man. I mean, are they here in Ghana? Are they in the States?
No. In fact, 2 of them, my eldest ones, come to Ghana very often. They have business interests here.
Okay.
My eldest worked in South Africa for the longest time. He worked with Cyril Ramaphosa.
Oh, okay. That's one of the richest men in South Africa, and he's done stuff with MTN and all of that.
Yes, they set up Shanduka together. For the longest time, my eldest son was the CEO of Shanduka. As a result, of course, I got to know Cyril very well. And he basically left South Africa some time ago. And he was the one that Prof used to go to visit in
South Africa. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about your first son and you're beaming with smiles, and you seem fulfilled that, yes, you've done something great, and that's how every father should feel.
No, I feel proud. I feel in so many ways relieved. I don't have to lie to you that I was somebody who never, at the beginning anyway, didn't want any children. I never.
Oh, you didn't want to have children?
I thought I didn't want to.
Why?
I don't know, but I'm very happy that I did. I think it's probably the responsibility. I had dreams.
And you thought having kids really would have slowed you down at a point, or what?
Well, yeah, I was always, I think, socially very conscious. And I really didn't like to see injustice. And I felt very strongly, especially about apartheid. I felt very strongly about the Algerian war. And I thought I wanted to be doing something very positive in that light. And having children was going to be somehow or the other a restraining condition. Luckily, I think my wife didn't agree with me. She had the children in retrospect. Well, I'm happy that
no regrets.
No regrets whatsoever.
Great. So WhatsApp line is 0262518268. Lots of messages are coming through for you, Doc. And I guess it's Dr. Cadman Mills, president of...
By the way,
yes,
I've always used the name Cadman.
Atta Mills.
Atta Mills.
Okay, so let's add Atta to it.
Prof who used to call himself Dr. Mills. I've always been Atta Mills. And now it's reversed.
Yes, yeah,
they refer to him as Atta Mills.
Dr. Cadman Atta Mills.
Thank you.
Is our guest right here. Now, Doc, let's talk about your public life. Exactly your role as special advisor to your brother. Many people thought, well, maybe conflict of interest now is happening to Trump even, and people thought, okay, so why should you? And others said, let him go. If this is the man to advise us on the economy and can do well and can help shape our society, why not? What informed his choice and what did he tell you?
Yeah. My brother would never, ever had put me in a position where I would have to basically be making decisions as such. The question of my becoming a minister was totally out of the question. I was not even interested.
You didn't even consider that?
Oh, no. He didn't consider it. I would not have considered it. I mean, there used to be a joke, right? I used to tell him that we should follow President Kufuor's example, since he made his brother the Minister of Defense. The Ministry of Defense is my birthright, and therefore he should appoint me Minister of Defense. But that was the only joke that we had about being minister. But I think he was also realistic. After all, I'm an economist. I've been an economist forever. I worked not only teaching economics at the United Nations, and you'll be shocked by the number of now very prominent African leaders, who somehow or the other went through the United Nations Institute for Development and Planning, and who I taught.
Wow.
And then...
Like who? I mean, for this interview, for the records, we'd like to have some names.
Well, Yaya Boni, president of Benin, or former president of Benin. At least he openly admits it. If we come to Ghana, Wampa, who was governor of the central bank, was my student.
All right.
There is Rojo
Dr.
Metal,
Wampa. Okay.
Dr. Wampa, Rojo Metal. But it was within a context of a seminar. In fact, our target audience were always high-level civil servants from the ministries and agencies of central bank and planning. So they were not students like the normal students, but at least people that I organized conferences.
You imparted knowledge, and of course you were there.
We exchanged knowledge much more like, okay, let's put it that way. Yeah. And then I worked at the World Bank for more than 20 years. There I was... FM. Actually, I got to the World Bank also teaching at the Institute for Development Planning in the World Bank, right? It was called Institute of Development, EDI, Institute of the World Bank. And I worked there for about 5 years. And it's only then that I moved into what they called operations. I'm a macroeconomist by training, and I led missions on structural adjustment. Then finally, I became, of course, a manager. I became the resident representative of the World Bank in Dakar, Senegal, because they sent me back there. And also the sector manager for macroeconomic programs at the World Bank.
You've gone through the mill, so certainly your brother appointing you as convener of Economic Advisory Council was well in place.
That was the story. And he knew that whether or not he liked it, I was going to advise him anyway. So why don't we formalize it? And he made me the advisor. And I must admit that it was really a fantastic thing. He had a vision that at that time I didn't realize it. He had a very, very competent Minister of Finance.
And at the time was Dr. Kwabena Dufo.
Don't mind him.
You worked closely with Dr. Kwabena Dufo.
I worked with Dr. Kwabena Dufo. I argued with Dr. Kwabena Dufo.
Oh, you did? There were times.
Many times. I have to admit that I never won very many debates with Kwabena Dufo. No, the problem is that, Professor Mills absolutely loved Kwabena Dufo. And he would always tell Kwabena Dufo, Cadman disagrees with you. But don't mind Cadman.
He's a stubborn chap, huh?
No, but I mean, I've made my peace with Kwabena Dufo.
Oh, you have?
I have made my peace.
When was the last time you called him?
I don't call him very often, but we met not very long ago.
Ah.
And the last time I saw him, I had to admit that I was not always, right, as kind to him.
Oh, you told him that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that in some ways it was very enriching. Just the fact that we were debating all the time.
Intellectual debate.
Yes, I think brought the best out of us, right? He had an advantage over me in the sense that, like all economists, by the way, he always presented economic problems as having unique solutions. The Ministry of Finance is very busy. They don't have the time to prepare options. In most economic problems, there are different ways, of resolving the same problem. You are supposed to present options for the policymaker to be able to say, no, I mean, you want to close the budget deficit. You can do it by cutting expenditure or raising revenue. Yeah. I prefer that you do a combination of both or something else. No, but the Ministries of Finance will always come to you with a unique solution. President, you have to do this. And unfortunately, as a member of the Economic Advisory Council...
You were telling your brother something else?
No, we were telling him, well, listen, there's not any unique solution and I don't agree with him.
Wow.
So he will say to you, okay, you don't agree with me. What should I do next? Since the guy presented only one solution, we are bound to say, well...
So was there ever a time where you had, maybe there was a standoff or you guys had to argue something out, you and Dr. Kwabena Dufo?
We always did.
Ah.
I don't think there was one time that
you
agreed on anything. But
it was for Ghana.
It was for Ghana. I also found out what Kwabena Dufo did that I didn't do. Being president is not easy, and especially when you have a brother who knows it all and who's always coming to you and telling you that what your Minister of Finance is proposing is not the right thing to do, but offers no alternative, can be extremely tiring. I accuse Kwabena Dufo, who loved President Mills, and it was returned, as sometimes being a little too gentle with him and not always, telling him the ugly truth, because there were a number of ugly truths. He would tend to, in my view, sugarcoat a few things to President Mills. Until one day, President Mills, in a lot of his aspiration, told me off and told me he's tired of having me come all the time with my long face to tell him things will not work, and not being able to tell him what will work. Please leave me alone. That's when I realized that I think Kwabena Dufo knows what was right.
Interesting, and it's good. And I wish I had called him as a founder of the EIB network, to listen to this show. But maybe he will get a recording and listen to
it. He will get a recording.
Yes. But in all of this,
3.5 FM.
I know you miss your brother. How is it like? I know. Walk us through. You were so close to your brother. You were there with him, and I know you miss him, but share with us what the experience is like and that feeling.
Oh, I wish one day I'll be able to put out. In fact, let me not lie to you. I'm working on a book.
Oh, you're working on the book?
Yeah, where basically I trace his political evolution. This is somebody who grew enormously. He started out what I call an Nkrumahist. But Nkrumahist meant very different things to very different people. I mean, I consider myself Nkrumahist. But because Nkrumah had to concentrate on basically getting rid of colonialism, the coalition which supported Nkrumah was basically quite different and heterogeneous. It included what I call labor, the working classes who wanted independence at all costs. It included capital, or basically owners of business or aspiring businesses, right, who wanted to displace the colonial enterprises and things like that, and basically develop an indigenous capitalist class. It included not the aristocracy, but at least the landed gentry, and things like that. And they tended to be basically a masking of the emergent class divisions in Ghana. And therefore, it was possible for very different people to join the independence struggle and yet think very differently. My brother was an Nkrumahist, but he was driven much more by nationalism.
How well do you miss him?
Oh, I miss him enormously. I miss him enormously. I miss my talking to him. I also have a lot of regrets. I have a lot of regrets.
What are these regrets, Doc?
I could have been a better brother. I could have been a better brother.
And by that you mean?
You know, I spent a lot of time, during his presidency traveling. And basically I entrusted his physical and emotional well-being to others, and my younger brother, who is, believe me, much younger than we are, and things like that. I would come back and I would realize that he was a very lonely man. He was extremely...
President Mills was lonely?
Oh my God. I would go to his quarters in the castle, which were really basically not even fit for a human being to live in. I mean, my God. And he'd be sitting, in this chair, very quietly.
This was the president of Ghana.
This was the president of Ghana. I mean, many times I would think of calling some of the people that I knew were his friends and telling them, please come and visit him. Come and talk.
Does it get lonely at the top? Or with him, maybe it was different.
Listen, I've never been at the top anymore.
But you were with him. You said you met him lonely. Where was his wife?
Oh, the wife was around. Basically, unfortunately, during the week.
He had to be at the castle.
He was at the castle. Somehow or the other, he didn't want to stay home because he didn't want to disrupt traffic.
And this was Reggie Manuel, right?
Yeah.
Reggie Manuel Estate, okay.
And I experienced it coming to your offices.
The traffic?
No, not the...
I know.
Okay, good. Let me not go any further.
Okay, I get it.
So he would spend the week at the castle, go home only over the weekends, right? And it was difficult. During the day, I mean, there would be lots of people who would come and, visit him and things like
But
that.
in the evening?
In the evening, he was pretty much alone, surrounded by guards.
Wow.
Very younger people.
This is revealing. I mean, for me, and I want us to set the record straight. Maybe tell us, would he have been alive if he wasn't the president, health-wise? Maybe he would have had time to, because with what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I don't like to go there.
Mm.
Right? Let me say the following, though. I mean, I've never been known to mince my words.
Great.
President Mills was somebody who had major
Star
issues
103.5 FM.
with the sinuses. And in fact, he got very sick. We, meaning the family, had to rush him to South Africa and treat him and things like that. After that, we were very conscious, right, of his condition. You will be shocked by the conditions under which he was living at the castle. I mean, one day, the roof of his residence was leaking. There was
a chief of staff. So what happened, Doc?
I don't know.
Cadman at Mills. You saw all of these things, and the condition wasn't.
I did see them. Right?
Did you talk about it? Because
Well,
if he wasn't
some of the
fit
other-
for any one of us, how much more the president?
No, part of the problem also was this. He was a little too modest.
Mm.
And, he would always say, no, it's all right. But this place wasn't even... Look, one day they removed the carpet. I mean, first of all, Ghana doesn't have any business having carpets in anywhere.
Oh, you think so?
You should see the dust. With somebody who has, problems with the sinuses.
Yeah.
It used to leak,
Wow.
buckets when it rained. There was
It did?
mold in that place.
Pathetic.
I mean, in that sense, let me be very honest.
Please.
President Mills was an accomplice in his own maltreatment. I mean, no. There was simply no way. In getting to the end, I basically fought with people to try and get him to go to Pedro-Cadman.
Star 103.5
At least
FM.
that was more.
There was a Flagstaff house, for crying out loud, Dr. Cadman at
For
Mills.
some
Because of politics.
No, it had nothing to do with politics.
Why didn't he move there?
First of all, the Flagstaff house had an issue.
Mm.
There was also, I don't know what happened to the roof, but the president's, I went to visit it because I was very eager to get him to move there. In the end, they also decided that there was a security issue. And how could you argue against that?
Pedriassi was there.
Pedriassi was there. And he moved there only for about a week or two at the end when I put my foot down and I said, no, this is not acceptable. I went and lived at the castle, by the way. And I was living in a place that everybody called the boys' quarters.
Oh, that's where you lived?
Yeah,
because of your brother, just to take care of him?
Just to be close to him. Just to be close to him. It was that bad.
Wow.
I will also add something else.
Please go ahead.
And no, it's not a criticism of anybody, but I think let's give thanks where thanks are due. My brother, when he died, I was actually quite moved by the outpouring of grief, the consideration that a lot of Ghanaians showed him and everything else. I think the funeral planning committee, who I didn't thank enough, did a fantastic job.
I think it was chaired by, was it Dr. Mr. Tutobi Kwachi?
I believe it was
right.
chaired by Tutobi Kwachi. Somehow or the other, I forgot to thank them
So use this opportunity to say thank you to
So
them.
thank you.
Star
Thank you very much to
103.5
the Funeral
FM.
Planning Committee. I also have to add that there have been a number of people, too many to mention, who have been quite generous, to the family as a result of their relationship to President Mills. I also think, though, and I think we should tell the truth.
And the truth is?
As far as the government of Ghana is concerned, and I make no distinction between NPP or NDC, they've treated Professor Mills shabbily. Let me tell you the truth.
Really?
Yeah, quite shabbily.
You are disappointed? Are you livid? Are you angry? Are you disappointed?
No, let's say I'm incredulous. I'm quite incredulous. Because Professor Mills served Ghana. He didn't serve a political party. He didn't die in interstate. He had a will where he designated a lawyer and myself as the executors of his will. Everybody in the government knew that President Mills had siblings, or at least people who would speak to him. Bola, I'm telling you, up till this day, nobody in any position has called me or anybody else.
Former President Mahama has not done that?
Well,
Star
no.
103.5 FM.
And to say to me, listen, your brother died in office. According to the Chineris
Essay report, yeah.
He's entitled to this, or he's not entitled because he died. Right?
President Akufo-Addo has not done that? He's not gone for that?
Well, President Akufo-Addo just came.
Mm.
In part, it's maybe my fault, in the sense that I was a little too proud to say, but why? Why? I mean, who speaks for the dead? I mean, does the fact that he died in office mean that, I mean, he left a child.
But for crying out loud, this is a former president of our dear nation.
Yeah.
Must you fight for it?
I don't think I should fight for it. I mean, I expected somebody to call me or a family head and to say, well, listen, but who do you even ask?
Wow.
Who do you even ask?
13 minutes to hit 8, and lots of messages are coming in. I can't believe that we've done this for almost, 47 minutes already.
No, because instead of talking about what I need to talk about,
We'll talk about that.
You were talking about my wife.
Well, you want a fifth wife?
No. I think 4 is enough.
It says, the voice sounds so much like the dear president. Very cool, chill. How I miss him. Thank you, Doc.
103.5
Well, thank you too.
FM.
Anderson says, good evening, Bola. I like your introduction. Nice job there. Keep it up. And I love Doc as well. We're listening to you in Kumasi, Asokwa, Old Town. Well, thank you. I just admire Brother-Cadman at Mills. Down to earth like his brother. That's from Johnson. Good evening, Bola. I respect Dr. Mills for his sincerity and boldness. He's really a man of integrity. Please ask him if he were asked by Ghanaians to stand on the ticket for presidency. Would he embrace such a move? So that's a big one coming from Emeritus in Nakwadasu, Kumasi. Abesi Manyado says, Bola, his book is coming out. Please, I want to be a co-author. I want to write that book with him. My name is Abesi and I attach my number. Let him get in touch with me. The man is very open and sincere. This is what Ghana needs. Thank you, Bola, for bringing him in, of course, for celebrating him. Well, thank you very much. Rhoda says, seeing you, I'm watching you guys on Facebook, and it reminds me of your late brother and our late president, R.I.P. Prof. And that's from Rhoda Kotoma. Rhoda, Thank you very much. Mukta Ilyasu says, I'm watching live from home. Greetings to Doc. He's such an intelligent man. What's his view on the defeat of the NDC in the last elections? Is he considering taking any position in the NDC? That's from Mukta in Pong. Sabato says, this man always brings back memories of our late president at the Mills. God bless the late president's family. Gilbert says, Bola, can you ask Doc to set the record straight for people to stop pointing fingers at some individuals about Prof's death? It's quite worrying. Was he around when Prof passed on? And that's what I want to, start off with as we come back. Were you there? How did you get to know of everything? And people said he was carried in an ambulance to 37 military hospital. What really happened? For the first time, let's set the record straight, Doc.
I have tried very hard to set the record straight.
Star 103.5 FM.
The very beginning. And maybe there may be a lesson in this for President Akufo-Addo. And first of all, as I mentioned to you, my brother had issues with sinuses for which he received extensive treatment in South Africa for. That had the part of the secondary effects of the treatment that he had in South Africa.
Prof, we're due for a commercial break, and this is very,
then
an important. Yes, we'll go for our commercial break. When we get back, it's going to be exclusive right here on Star 103.5 FM with Brother-Cadman at Mills. All you need to know is right here. Big thank you to GT Bank, to Stella Lodge, to Johnny Walker, of course, to MTN. We'll be right back.
Star 103.5 FM. Simply the best.
I wake up in the morning, it's a new day, and I got bills that I have to pay. Now you're running late, running out of time. Feels like the world is waiting in line. All you gotta do is pick up the phone and just dial 737. So whatever you do, whoever you are, there is an easy way for everyone. The simple life is just one touch away. Experience the magic starting today. And it all begins with
You see, I don't need to write or cash a check. I don't need data or internet. I have something that's faster than a jet. Just like
what are you talking about? You could be a palm wine.
This is simple banking for every Ghanaian. Just dial star 737 hash and follow the prompts. For further assistance, call our toll-free line 0800 124 000.
Guaranteed Trust Bank.
Guaranteed Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
What will you do with 200,000 Ghana cedis?
Well, I go buy my own car, tear over. I go customize the tires in the number plate or Akwetiwa 2017. Oh, Napu.
Hey, let the boutiques will be empty, oh shit. Makeup levels, puppy, perfumes, wigs. I mean, devilish.
We travel town, I was say, Miami, Dubai, I'm a Trumco Saskatchewan, Chin. Maybe I'm sure, we're too coast to coast. Boys Day.
live your biggest dream this year with the MTN Mahiti promo. Simply text START to 2020, answer trivia questions correctly, and you can win freebies from MTN Daily, Samsung S7 and iPhone 7 weekly, 20,000 Ghana cedis monthly, or the grand prize of 200,000 Ghana cedis cash. Subscribe today. Text START to 2020 now.
MTN, everywhere you go.
The sun is so bright and I'm feeling so dry. I need something to quench all my thirst. Something so pure and so healthy. Bella, new life every day. Your new generation mineral water. Bella, give me new life every day.
Mineral water, your new generation mineral water. Look
out for the elegant red label.
Give me no life every day.
Star 103.5 FM. Simply the best.
Simply the best indeed, and you're welcome back. Yes, this is Star 103.5 FM, and you're on Star Chat. Our guest is Dr. Cadman at Mills. My name is Bolare, and a big thank you going out to Bell Aqua Mineral Water. Quench your thirst with Bell Aqua. Yes, it's important to quench your thirst. It's awfully hot and sweaty these days, isn't it? But all the discomfort and sweat disappears once you grab your bottle of freezing cold Bell Aqua Mineral Water. The water you drink says a lot about you. Yes, your health and your image. And that's why Bell Aqua Mineral Water is ionized with essential minerals that are great for your body. Bell Aqua, proudly Ghanaian. And a big thank you to GT Bank. Bank star 737 hash. Levels don't change. Simple banking for every Ghanaian. So if you're a customer of Guarantee Trust Bank Limited, if your phone number activated on our star 737 hash service, then we have some great news for you. We're ushering you onto a whole new level of simple and convenient banking. You can also check out GT Bank ATMs or branch locations. It's simple. By just dialing star 737 hash on your phone, you can now carry out full banking transactions from the comfort of your home or office or wherever you find yourself. Levels indeed don't change. Bank star 737 hash. Simple banking for every Ghanaian. Guarantee Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us? And if you're in Takrady, Stella Lodge and Apartments, yes, it's beckoning. Of course, if you're coming from Kumasi, Tamale, Accra, allow yourself to be treated like a royal whenever you're in Takrady by staying at Stella Lodge and Apartments with our world-class accommodation facilities and welcoming staff. 30 hotel rooms, 21 bedroom apartments. This is the place for you. Stella Lodge and Apartments. Guests can also take advantage of our, Charms Sports Bar and Restaurant, outdoor swimming pool, fully equipped gym, and free airport shuttle. Stella Lodge and Apartments can be located at 3 Luxor Close, Chapel Hill Road, Takrady. Call us on 031 203 2777 or 0540 107 399. Stella Lodge and Apartments, feel like a royal. And we are live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, also live in Takrady and Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, and Cool 103.5 FM in Hull in the Volta region. Dr. Cadman at Mills, we're back. Doc,
thank you.
I had to interrupt, when you were just on fire and saying it all as it is for the first time exclusively. Let's get to know. I asked you, were you there? How did the president die or pass on, and how did you take it? What really happened?
Okay, it's often very difficult for me to talk about this, but let me. And I think that there are a number of lessons to be drawn from this for Ghanaians, and also President Akufo-Addo, because it's important. As I was telling you before, my brother got very sick, was in South Africa in, I think, 2005, and had treatment in South Africa. And part of the effects of the treatment that he had was that progressively it affected his vision, and also it affected his hearing a little bit. But otherwise, the treatment was extremely successful, and he was getting progressively better. The only problem that he had was with his vision. And even that was getting better with time, right? Of course, we were very conscious of the sickness that he had in 2005. And therefore, he regularly had medical checkups to confirm that everything was A-OK. Now, some things were happening that I have to be very honest, I wasn't very happy with. Fifi, as I call him. Let me start calling him by his
please
name.
do. Please do.
was somebody who was actually very open and very, very honest. He would sit down with you and tell you in gory detail what his prognosis was, what the diagnosis of his disease and everything else was. He is not somebody who would hide things. But for some strange reason, they decided that politically
FM.
it was not allowable for people to know that he was sick, that he had been...
Really? When you say they?
I don't know. The people...
Because he came back after a trip, one of the trips, and he was jogging on, the tarmac. How did you take that?
Let me...
Yes, please build your point, please.
Go before that, right? I traveled, I went to China. I came back and I couldn't recognize my brother. I have to be very honest. He wasn't even coherent. He was very visibly sick. And I had never seen him like that before. And I said, well, we have to evacuate him immediately. We have to go to the US
3.5 FM.
and, have him looked at. That's when they started telling me, well, elections are going to be soon, and politically, that was the first and only time that I was very, very disrespectful of the presidency. I told them a piece of my mind.
You did?
Oh, yeah. And I decided we had to go to the US immediately. And
so you're mentioning they who...
Well, it's not...
Maybe we will not mention names,
it's basically, people around who thought, that politically it wasn't good. And what really got me furious is that they said he was going to the US for routine medical checkup. I said, what are you talking about? My brother is a human being. He's not well. I want him to go and take the time necessary to get well. The fact of your being president doesn't mean you don't get sick. And what's so political about being sick? But you see, the narrative had been developed for the longest time that he was a very sick man, he was at the verge of death at any point in time. All of it wasn't true. Whatever got him in, was it April or May, was something that I had never seen before. Surely enough, when we went to the US, luckily for them and for me also, they detected very quickly what was causing it, and he got much better, in no time. I was very angry at him when he came back and wanted to show everybody that he was well.
Oh, so you confronted him on that?
I confronted him on a lot of things, including that.
Including that?
Yeah.
You weren't happy?
That was okay. And then, he was okay.
Was the then vice president aware of all of that? Did you get to discuss it with him? That, are you talking to your boss? What are you doing about it?
No, the then vice president and I were...
Later President Mahama, yeah?
Were generally on good terms at that time. But, I don't think he was very close...
To President Mills?
No, he was close to President Mills professionally.
Okay.
But he wasn't one of the people who would hang around, the castle and things like that. I don't think he was very directly involved in that. So that was it. The second time, which also led to his death, unfortunately, once again, I had traveled. I came back on the Sunday. That very Sunday, prior to my traveling, he didn't seem that well to me. His gait wasn't quite right, And by the way, it had nothing to do with the treatment that he had in South Africa and so on. And I remember I talked to him and said that, listen, as soon as I come back, I think we should go back to the US and have you examined again. And at that time, he seemed to agree with me. I don't know why I even went to China. But when I came back, his situation was really horrendous. But what is happening? And I couldn't make heads or tail out of it.
What were his handlers saying? I mean, this was a man who was visibly sick with your narration on everything.
Star 103.5 FM.
I don't know. Were they in denial that he was sick?
Was there ever a point that President Mills considered stepping down?
Well, there was a point that also became a big scandal. My children and I were going to confront him. And we said so openly at the castle that if indeed whatever is happening to him, because we couldn't understand it, where it came from, didn't clear up immediately, there was no way he was going to run. And by the way, we had that confrontation also in 2007 when he decided to run again. At that time, it was in South Africa actually, his very good friend Chachu was there. And we confronted him. I did anyway. I don't know whether Chachu will remember. And I asked him, what I asked everybody, 2006 actually. Why do you want to run? And he gave me a very credible reason. Most of the time when people come to solicit my help and you ask them, why do you want to run? They start with I, and they give you their whole CV, and you know immediately that it's about them, not about the people that he wants to serve. But President Mills was quite different. And I realized that, he really, really thought he could be of help. But much more importantly, that there was no medical reason for him to run, not to run.
Not to run or...
There was no medical reason why in 2007, 6, he couldn't run.
Okay.
That's when I decided I would resign from the World Bank immediately and come
and support him.
And support him. President Mills, as I know, would never have run if he didn't think he was physically well. And that
so he was well in 2006. Doctors had cleared him to go ahead.
Cleared him to go. Just like, by the way, in March 2012, they cleared him. I was so.
So then, what happened?
What happened? I know what happened.
That's the big question. What happened?
No, from every indication, because I was with him. I think I was the last person, aside from my younger brother, that he talked to. He was very coherent, but he was complaining of very severe pains in his neck. He had been complaining also a few days before of sensitivity to light. Since his death, of course, I have done a lot of research, and some of the symptoms that he evidently exhibited very clearly pointed to a stroke or the beginning of a stroke.
So you don't suspect foul play?
Well, I have said on record, right, that at least as far as I'm concerned, I can only talk about the immediate cause of his death and what I saw, right? What I saw and what I think the autopsy report also confirmed, right, is that he died of a very massive, right? The term, stroke, aneurysm, is very often used interchangeably, right? Hemorrhagic stroke, aneurysm, but something of that order, right? That's what I saw. Now, at the material movement that he collapsed and fell down, I was not physically there. That's why when I hear people say that I said that his last words where he raised his hands and said, God, I give it to you. He was a very Christian person. When he felt the pain in his neck and things like that, he made a comment like that, but not just before he died. But anyway, there was a certain attempt to basically try to, mock me and things like that in the press. I was also quite shocked. I have to be very honest with you, that people sort of questioned me why I would reveal the cause of his death. Why would you say that? I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm telling you the truth. Would you rather I allowed Ghanaians to think he died out of throat cancer that you get from, I don't know, oral sex and things like that? No, that's not what he died of. Let's tell the truth.
Did he have throat cancer?
Of course not. Of course not. Let me be... I know he'll forgive me, and I know he will not.
FM.
He himself would have said so. President Mills had a growth in his sinuses, and it was quite sizable. That some people called precancerous, others said cancerous, I don't know. But it was basically what they call the Chinese disease. And it comes from breathing polluted air and things like that. And it's one of the conditions which are very easily curable. I mean, the cure rate is something of the order of about 99% and so on.
And it means we didn't take care of our president. If he was curable, then we could have done something.
No, but he was totally cured. And no, as far as that concerned, he was totally cured. He was in total remission. Occasionally, we will have a scare, and, not to...
Did you engage Koku Anyido, who was really, with your brother? Have you engaged him? Did you engage him often?
Like me, Koku Anyido was somebody whose nickname, as far as I'm concerned, was "Don't mind Koku." Don't mind Koku. I heard him say in an interview that he loved President Mills.
Yeah, he said that on GH1 a couple of
weeks. Can I shock you?
Shock me.
I think it was
Star
returned.
103.5 FM.
It was returned. President Mills, I don't know why, but he had such a weakness for this troublesome boy, Koku.
Koku is troublesome?
Tell him I said so.
He's listening to you.
Easy. And no, President Mills absolutely loved him. And Koku would get away with murder. But when Koku did something and you went to President Mills and you started complaining to him, you said, don't mind Koku. That meant I don't want to hear anything more. Leave
it's
him.
Okay. Wow. So it was very...
And it was very...
He was that close to your brother?
Oh, Koku?
Yes.
Actually, I mean, I'm angry at him, so I won't say nice things about him.
Don't feel free, yes.
I like Koku. I like Koku. I mean, he's quite a character. And Koku
would have killed or maybe, sacrificed his life for your brother. He was there. I mean that's how passionate. And
I hope he wouldn't be that stupid. Life is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Why would I?
But he would defend President Mills anywhere, any day, anytime.
Let's say I really, really appreciated Kuku's loyalty to President Mills.
Wow.
And you see him like this, but he's extremely hardworking. And Koku means well. He is perhaps a little rough on the edges sometimes. And sometimes, you know.
Did the NDC party, of course, the NDC as a party, treats him well? That's your brother, President Mills.
Treat who?
President Mills well. Did they treat him well as a party?
Oh, listen, I mean, I don't know anybody called NDC. NDC as a political party, right, doesn't have a personality of its own. It's composed of individuals.
But there are great leaders in the party.
Oh, there are great leaders. I mean, let's say that there are people in the NDC who perhaps didn't treat President Mills well.
Like who?
No, I mean, I'm not going to name names. I mean, that's not, you know, in my pay. I think, in general, though, he wasn't always understood by people in the party. They also forgot that President Mills is not a comrade. You know, I mean, he wasn't a cadre. I mean, you know, he didn't grow up, you know.
Are you a member of the NDC?
The truth is, I'm a card-carrying member of the NDC. Nobody wants to admit it. But I'm also not a slave to the NDC. Let's say that as I became an NDC member, primarily because of my brother. And I don't regret it. I mean, of all the political parties around.
You don't believe in the ideals? Had not been Professor Mills, wouldn't have been drafted into the NDC, and
well,
after his demise.
Well, now I can tell you that. President Mills, as far as I'm concerned, was a very good Christian liberal. The ideals of social democracy very much, you know, suited, you know, his general orientation politically. A part of the book that I'm writing, you know, traces his political, you know, evolution. But I've always been, I mean, social democracy is something that I can't subscribe to. I mean, if you mention to me social democracy, I'll tell you it's a deviationist, you know, tendency, right? And it's in denial, you know, of Marxism and
yeah. I don't know many. I mean, the headlines will be out there tomorrow morning with regards to your stance and all of that.
Forget about the headlines.
Let's talk reality, of course. What we're doing here. What about President Rawlings? Did you ever get to meet him towards, you know, the latter days? How was his relationship with your brother like?
You know, I am on record, and I have no reason to withdraw that record, that history will treat President Rawlings very, very well. I met President Rawlings some time ago. He has visited my house in Potomac, Maryland a number of times. He was in my office a number of times. I have sat there and debated with him, fought with him for many, many times. Lately, though, I believe that he has not been very enchanted with me. Neither have I, you know, because I think sometimes in his bluntness, he borders on the cruel without him realizing that some of the things that he says are a bit cruel. And, you know, they can...
Was your brother head at a point in time with some of the comments? Because many said the persistent attacks and all of that. What did your brother say to you?
My brother was a gentleman, which I'm not. You know. There were times where he was agonized. And you say, but what does he say I've done to him?
Oh.
And he couldn't really understand, right? But at the same time, my brother was realistic enough to realize that not everything was going on very, very well.
So are you saying that your brother deserved attacks from President Rawlings in a way? Some of them?
No, I mean, they may not necessarily be attacks. Sometimes, in his impatience, he offered a critique of what my brother was doing, which sometimes I thought was unfair. But it never really bordered on the personal. And I think he tried to see the difference between personal attacks and critique of his regime, right? Including that, he's selling the NDC to the Nkrumahist. And, those ones we could take. When it became personal, and to the extent that it became cruel, that's when,
President Mills got worried?
No, he got hurt. He got very hurt. I got very hurt when he's alleged to have said that it was an act of God, that President Mills, left the scene, otherwise NDC would have lost. And I was very offended by it.
Did you confront him?
Oh my God. No, I mean, that's when I got on air and said that he's unwelcome at any celebration involving President Mills. Oh, by the way, since then, there have been no celebrations. And I've not been invited to any.
Really?
So that's it. Yeah.
Interesting.
No, but that's another point
Yes,
that
please.
I really need to make. And I think, there's this legend that President Mills comes from OTUAM. It's probably true. I don't know. But the first time I heard of this legend was when I was about 60 years old. I have lived that long without, knowing that I had any links with
OTUAM?
No.
What?
No, I'm telling you this.
Really?
I did some research on it, and because I was wondering where was this coming from, and I was told that somewhere when he was filing his nomination papers, he put there that he hails from OTUAM or something like that.
So that's not where President Mills is from? This is scandalous.
But what is even more scandalous? Listen to me.
Yes, Doc.
Perhaps Bolare believes that President Mills comes from OTUAM.
Star 103.5
When he
FM.
died, you knew that President Mills had siblings. So they also must come from OTUAM. At least ask us to lead you to the family in OTUAM. Out of nowhere. I mean, we Ghanaians can be very bold. People I don't know from Adam, I never heard of, become my family heads and my family. They even publish pictures of the twins, President Mills and I, bathing on the beach in OTUAM. They invent a family house for me.
So that family house in OTUAM is not your family house, Doc?
Please. I mean, listen, my
Star 103.5 FM.
my family head, ever since I was born, I knew, I was told we come from Cape Coast. I thought maybe it was political because nobody comes from Cape Coast, So that's why it was necessary for President Mills, if indeed he did that, to put another town, OTUAM, as his, hometown or where he hails from. It is also true, let me be very honest, my father's brother married a woman from OTUAM. So there are indeed Atta Millses from OTUAM. But my mother doesn't come anywhere from OTUAM. And all of a sudden, we have a whole family from OTUAM. Now, what is even more painful, and that's why I got a little incensed by the comments that Rollins made. The people in OTUAM used that as the occasion to say that they were going to exhume the body and take him to OTUAM to bury. That's when I went to OTUAM and had a confrontation. I said, no, you don't do that. You don't do that. If that's the legend, let the legend be. But don't invent a family for me. Where were you when my mother died?
Why have you kept quiet over all of this?
No, I remember during the funeral planning, I mean, really, very frankly, I was not here. I was not here. I was too
Star
shocked by
103.5
it.
FM.
But I remember making a
So you didn't attend any of the funeral?
I attended one meeting, and I remember saying very clearly, please, we are not from OTUAM. You should see the disdain with which they looked at
They looked down upon you.
as if I'm denying where I'm coming from. And unfortunately for me, I thought, okay, look, let it be. But then when they started assuming responsibilities, where they are going to bury the body, what they are going to do, then I said, that's enough.
No, this is shocking, and like you said, it's
what is even more shocking is that we Ghanaians, and I call it being very bold,
will come up and claim that this is our brother, this is our family member.
I know.
Really?
And my family, my true family, is very angry about it. Because it seems like some way or the other, the government gives them more credence than they give to the real family. The real family is in Cape Coast. Let me try and mention the name. It's Nkrumah Chirba Shida Nebusia.
Nkrumah Chirba
Shida Nebusia.
And they're in Cape Coast?
They're in Cape Coast. Our family head, by the way, is called Atu Haribru. For the longest time, family head was Kwesi Brew, who was ambassador to Senegal and everywhere. A staunch NPP member, by the way.
We'll get it now. But as we get ready to wrap it all up, we'll talk about your favorite music, the kind of music that you love to listen to any day, any given time. What kind of music do you love to listen to?
You would say I'm snobbish, so I wouldn't tell you.
Oh, no, tell us. Which one?
No,
any day
let
we'll
me tell you about my hobby. I have,
yes, your hobby.
I have my boys sitting.
Yes.
I'm a fantastic cook.
Oh, you're a great cook?
Yeah.
Now you tell us about it. So which one? Maybe you should invite us home one of these weekends. And what will you prepare for us?
What do you want to eat?
Fanciful is banana.
Babe,
if I'm not sure do Nasaba.
Oh, no. I bet you didn't think I could speak Fanti.
Yes.
What's the Fanti? Pure papa.
Sure. I'm two of them. But tell us, how's your nephew, Fifi Atamils?
You mean Kofi Sam?
Kofi? Yes.
No, Kofi
Star
Sam
103.5 FM.
is doing well.
When was the last time you checked up on him, Doc? Be frank with me.
Do you want me to be frank?
Yes, please.
He lives with me now.
Oh.
He's now in London, but he lives with me. That's another sad part of the story. It's possible that people individually have tried to do things for him. Unfortunately, I'm not in the position to do anything for Kofi. I do believe, even though the family wasn't officially informed, that the previous government rented an apartment for him because, well, his mother is different from Mrs. Mills, and he can't possibly go and live with, Mrs. Mills and things like that. But officially, as far as the family is concerned, nothing, absolutely nothing has been done for him. I can't speak of what has been done for Mrs. Mills. I mean, I think Mrs. Mills probably, right, is entitled, after all, as the former First Lady, to a salary of some sort. If you go to her place also, the government provides vehicles for her, and she's guarded. There are guards, who take care of her. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the only thing I know of. Absolutely nothing has been done. But, I mean, call the family. Say to them
Star 103.5
that because
FM.
your brother, your father, your husband died in office, he's not entitled to anything. I think people will understand.
Rather not calling them at all. Well, it's just some 29 minutes after 8 as we wrap it all up. It's time for our mystery question, Doc. And please, open it up for us.
And now, the mystery question.
And Doc, what do we have in there, please? It says what? You can read it out for us, please.
Were you satisfied with the performance, of John Mahama as president?
Yes, please.
That's a very, very big question, right? And it would take me a long time to basically answer it.
Were you satisfied on the scale of maybe 1 to 100? You rate John Mahama, former president, on a scale of 1 to 100.
Okay, let me be very, very honest. There is the personal side. And let me say that I have a lot of regrets that I wasn't able to develop a rapport with John Mahama. I had thought, given the way that he and I seemed to be very good friends, that we would have been able to get on better. Officially, I was a senior economic advisor. He never once called me to ask me a question. I tried very hard to get an audience with him. I don't think I ever succeeded to talk to him for more than 2-3 minutes. And I was very surprised that we didn't develop the rapport necessary. So that is the personal side.
Were you surprised that the NDC lost the elections?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, I live, by the way, when I'm in Ghana, in Cape Coast. I had pointed out to a lot of people that there was very little enthusiasm as far as the election.
Cape Coast Stadium was there.
Well, I think people now have major issues that were not addressed by infrastructure or by the stadium or by handouts.
Or the market.
Or the market. Now, I have a long theory about what is happening in Ghana now. Ghanaians are very, very, very disempowered. Most Ghanaians don't believe that through their own effort they can go anywhere. Ghanaians are suffering. Most Ghanaians that I meet are living a survivalist strategy. They are lying, they are cheating, they are cutting corners. Most of them know what they are doing is probably not right. But Ghanaians are quick, to go on their knees and beg you, because they feel that what they are doing, they have to do to survive. This is the set of issues that I don't think any of the political parties, by the way, addressed.
Did President Mahama deliver for you?
As a voter, as somebody from Cape Coast, no, he didn't. And he could not have delivered for me.
Koku Anyide, who is listening to us, says, please tell Dr. Cadman Atta Mills that I love being troublesome, and that's in quotes, to protect President Mills. I respect Cadman a lot too. This is Koku. I loved being troublesome. I enjoyed eating spare ribs with President Mills and Cadman in his house in Potomac. Cadman is a fun-loving, easygoing guy, and I admire him a lot. Salute to him, Bola.
Tell Koku, don't bring yourself.
Doc, it's been an interesting evening.
It's been an interesting.
There's one interview that will go down history.
Let's do another one.
We'll do another one, and maybe on TV. And I'll be glad to visit you in Potomac, out there in the States, Maryland.
He's a bad boy, believe me.
It's been nice hanging out with you, Doc.
Thank you.
Do you have a nickname?
No.
Oh, really? They called your brother Asumdre. You think that you want to get one on this show?
Exact opposite.
Exact opposite. We'll find that one out. Dr. Cadman Atta Mills has been a guest right here on Star 103.5 FM.